Graded School District Prudential Committee for September 10th, 2025. The members of the board present are myself, Ray Molyneux, the chairperson, Lonnie DePonta DeSorda, who's a board member, Kieran McNamara, who's a board member. And shortly we should have our fourth member, Matt Patterson, but that's monthly. Lori Elwell is our secretary, minutes taker. Doug Bucci is here, and he's our treasurer. I don't see anybody to offer public comments, so we'll move to finance. And that's what we discuss here is the treasurer's report. And Doug will discuss that and how the bidding or how the process is going for getting a new bank for us to operate. Okay, go ahead, Doug. Thanks.
Okay, yep. So treasurer's report, pretty light this month, not a lot to report. We are kind of in that middle period here with the tuition payment starting, as you'll see, for the warrant coming up and state aid due in September. So I did request an advance on the line on the tax anticipation line today, just in case the state aid goes all the way till the end of the month. Because I know there was some back and forth about whether the village school is going to pick up their check, as soon as I get them signed, which is tomorrow. So I didn't want to get into a situation where we were running razor thin. We did have enough in the account to cover the checks that are going out on the warrant, but it would have been razor thin. So I did request an advance today that will go in, and then that will float. Because once we get the state aid, there's a lot of bills that will come for next month's warrant. Next month's warrant is usually pretty heavy with the single tuitions and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that we were ready for that also.
Yep. So that would be tuitions to institutions other than the village school.
Correct. Right. If I remember correctly, and I was looking at it, there's a batch of them that bill out, basically the first month of their school, which is this month, and then it hits our October warrant. And like I said, I wasn't entirely sure when the state aid was going to be out this month. So I didn't want to get into a situation where it was going to be, like I said, razor thin. So,
yep.
So we'll do that. I'll give my little tax spiel that I gave last night.
Yep.
Tax bills for the North Bennington Graded School District, which encompasses the Village of North Bennington and the Shaftesbury ID District 1, have all been mailed as of yesterday. So those should be hitting mailboxes over the next day or so with mail delivery. All those bills have been mailed. I will put information on the villagenorthbennington.org website if folks have questions about homestead filings or state payments towards tax amounts due. There's not a lot that I have control over in that. I have to direct people to the state of Vermont, so that information will be on the website. It'll have a link that you can click on. It'll have a phone number. And that information is also on the back of all tax bills. So you can, if you feel you have a parcel that is listed as a non-homestead that you feel should have been a homestead, you can flip your bill over and give a call to the state, and they can inform you as to why it is what it is. And if there is a correction that can be done, they'll help you with that. And the hard cutoff is October 15th. After that date, whatever it is, whether it's an error or a mistake, it's locked in. So if there is a question or a problem, you definitely want to address it prior to October 15th. Right now, if you file, it's considered a late homestead filing. There is a quote unquote penalty. And what that just means is on the revised tax bill, it's just not a full homestead credit. It still is worth the homeowner's time to get it done because it is still a reduction from the non-homestead rate to the homestead rate, if in fact
Yeah.
it should be listed as your homestead. So that's my tax spiel.
Okay,
And your other item, Ray, I have not met with Renee yet. Tax billing kind of took a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but we are ahead of the ball game, so that's good. So my plan is to meet with Renee this month and finalize that RFP for banking services.
okay,
She has a great template and shell set up, so all we're really going to have to do is change dates. So we're really only just going to push everything back by a month, basically, is what's going to happen.
okay.
Which I had considered moving the end date anyway, because it was very close to when we would be wrapping up calendar year end, which is when the tax anticipation note payment is due. So there's some timing issues. And Renee, when I mentioned that to her last month, she's like, yeah, we can absolutely move those dates around as we see fit. So basically everything's just going to be pushed back by a month. But we have a very good shell template ready. We'll adjust it. And I'll shoot an email to everybody once that's going out with a copy so everybody's aware of that. And that will flow through Renee and then myself and the board. And like I said, it'll be more of a recommendation from Renee based on my job so that there's no conflict of interest. She'll review any
Yes,
proposals that come through, make her recommendation. I'll be able to discuss, the proposals that we did receive and why she's making the recommendation as to which bank she feels. And it may turn out that the recommendation is to stay where we're at. That certainly is a possibility. But if we
okay,
don't send out the RFP, we don't know what may be out there for us.
right. All right, so that takes care of tax bills, uh, money from the line of credit, and the prospect of shifting banking accounts.
Yep.
And we trust you, Doug, or I trust you. I think the whole board trusts you, and
Yep. No, and like I
we'll
said,
get it
there'll
done.
be, just that way here, there's no questions. Everything will be, done and the evaluation will be, apples to apples from, whatever institutions choose to submit a proposal.
Yeah. Okay,
Any other
so,
questions for me?
yeah, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
All right. I'm going to jump off. I've got some emails and things for
Yes.
tax billing. So
Thank you.
have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, take care, Doug. So the consent agenda for this month consists of approving the minutes from the August 13th, 2025 meeting, the regular meeting of the board in August, and the current warrants. I'll mention the warrants, run through that. There's two different segments to this. One is a payment for the treasurer's services of $29.72.48. Actually, I'm going to stop mentioning cents because it gets just tedious. And then the other is the accounts payable warrant, which includes payment to Oriello for meeting minutes, payments to the supervisory union for administrative services. This is an installment on the total bill for the year. Audit, early education's program, financial services, HR administration, SPED administration, and tech administration. That amounts to a little over $30,165. The minutes are $50, and then there's tuition to the village school for $159,155, and an interest payment to US Bank, $1,100. That has to Sorry, Doug left before I got to this. I know that's absolutely standard, but I can't at the moment. For what that's for. Oh. It could either be, it's not for the bond payment, because we already paid interest on that.
Is it for the tax anticipation bill?
It may well be, yes.
Must be.
It's probably that. Yeah. All right, it's. Okay, so total of the warrant is $193,443, rounding it up. And the minutes, hopefully everybody's read or glanced at the minutes. They're pretty straightforward. And so I'll entertain a motion to approve both the warrant and the minutes for August.
Motion, Ray.
I'll
August
second.
13th. Okay, I guess I need a second. I'll second. What thing? Any discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that's all of us, so I'm not going to call for abstention for the no's. So having approved the consent agenda, we have no policies to deal with. Despite there being a policy meeting yesterday, but it's different business going. So we go to the superintendent's report. This is the first time that Mr. Payne, our superintendent, new superintendent, has attended our meeting. And we expect a few words anyway.
Yeah, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Tim Payne. I'm the superintendent as of July 1st. Some of you probably know me before that. Been a member of the community since the 90s. Previously at the high school as a principal, middle school principal, and taught at the high school back in the 90s as well. So it's been quite the learning experience, as folks probably are imagining. I'm going to limit my report this evening to a very quick update around ed reform and Act 73. I will be attending a meeting tomorrow in Rutland of statewide superintendents. The agenda went out this morning, and almost all of that 6-hour agenda is going to be focused on items underneath ed reform. So redistricting, class size, graduation requirement, all those topics are popping up there. So I look forward to participating in that, meeting a few more of the superintendents as we go forward. And then I also have an invitation to join a conversation with the Rural School and Community Alliance Group, which is next Friday, the 19th at 1 o'clock. I do need to be clear at this point. I have not taken a position. I know there are other superintendents in the state who have been approached by the Alliance and asked for letters of support. But I shared this with the chair and the SU board, who I'm working with right now for goal setting for the coming year, that I'm happy to bring back what I learned and what I hear, and the board can give me some directions as we move forward. But just want folks to know that at this point, just participating in a lot of conversations. I have met with my regional colleagues. That includes this superintendent for the BRSU. We've had some conversations. Obviously, we're all being attentive to the first task at hand, which is the map drawing committee, which we've been talking about. We're meeting probably at this point once a month. We'll probably pick that up a little bit as we get closer to the December deadline. But at this point, being a new superintendent, just trying to participate in as many conversations as possible, and trying to build with my colleagues a little bit more of a voice out of the Southwest. I'm sure folks are paying attention. There's no one currently sitting on the map drawing committee that would come from the Southwest corner. So trying to figure out how we can voice and give input on that process.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. And this meeting with the Rural Schools Community Alliance. That's Zoom meeting?
It is
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that, that's the 19th, you said?
19th at 1 o'clock.
It's,
That's next Friday.
Okay. Right, is that, so you'll be here doing it?
I will be. Would you like to join me?
Yeah, probably would.
Absolutely.
1 o'clock, okay.
I can, I'll send you a reminder too. I'll
Yeah,
send you a-
please do. Yep, thank you. The one thing I was looking through, posts from that group. Because I followed them for
No,
before they were the Rural Schools Alliance. But, and they mentioned that, districts. And I don't know whether they're actually talking about supervisory unions or actual school districts should be sending their preferences to this, redistricting committee. And, this district definitely has a strong preference for remaining under a supervisory. And I think we can vote on that at the supervisory union meeting to express whatever the board wishes to express.
Yeah.
If we put it on the agenda, which would be between you and our chair, right?
So our next meeting, which has been moved, it's the 25th, right? It's a Thursday.
Yeah.
We had to move it because of a conflict. So the purpose of that meeting is the board, the SU board is close, and I would imagine the product coming out of that meeting is they'll pick their goals for the year.
Yeah.
And Act 73 is definitely on the short list
Right.
of what do we want to participate, what do we want to be doing as far as advocacy. So I
Right.
think that'd be a very appropriate part of the
So we
conversation.
have another meeting for that group, which I'm part of, so.
Yep.
Right, coming up. All right. Okay. And that, okay, central office, and I'll write it down here for me. All right, so, I guess from what I read, they redistricting committee, this is getting in my report, but it doesn't really matter. We're just gonna meld in
Yeah.
it together here. They're, I just knocked. Oh, no.
So the committee that has been tasked to draw the maps has been meeting.
Yeah.
And they are posting now their notes. Those are
Right.
available to the public to
But
view.
they apparently have a set of rubrics that they want these proposals to compare what the effect of a particular proposed redistricting,
Yes.
so that they can sort of rank them.
Yep. I've seen that too.
Yeah, but you don't know what the rubrics are.
No, I do anticipate that we will talk about that
Okay.
tomorrow. That is, redistricting is absolutely on the list.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
it's gonna be on everybody's mind.
the other piece, in addition to the rubrics, is there should be some directions coming forward about how does the public, how do school boards give their feedback?
Right, and that's what I was responding to, because apparently a lot of members of the Rural Alliance have sent preferences in already.
Oh, okay.
They voted preferences in their board meetings.
Okay. Yeah, I anticipate, at the regional meeting of superintendents, so that's 5 or 6 of us, so Rutland, south to, SVSU, at our last meeting, we did have, the executive director of the Vermont Superintendents Association and a member of that task force join us and just ask some basic questions like what would be the easiest way to collect feedback from your communities and things like
Mhm.
that. So that I think they're definitely developing that.
we may get more directions tomorrow. That would be,
Okay,
that would be helpful.
all right. So that was one question I had based on, reading through some of the posts. And, hopefully we can make a decision to on that, here locally, so we can
Yep.
have input there. And you'll tell us more about it. Okay,
Yes.
great, appreciate that.
Yeah, my goal is between now and at least December, because legislation says that they have to have maps in
Yeah,
the hands
December
of
1st, right.
December 1st. So I will set aside superintendent report. I will try to always have a note, an update on Act 73 as we go
Yeah.
through.
This is December 1st, this is September the 10th. It's gonna be an iffy thing, I would say.
It's an ambitious goal, that is for
Very
sure.
ambitious.
And then we'll turn it over to the politicians.
Yeah, right, yeah, okay. Yeah, so, I'll continue on basically this redistricting. Last night at the North Bennington trustees meeting, there was a report from our North Bennington's planning commission. And, I believe he's the chair of that, made a very strong, he included a comment that the planning commission stands by to assist in a vigorous campaign to lobby for maintaining the viability of our independent schools. And, then he had a comment about, some objections or, comments about making changes to districting based on and programming based on no evidence whatsoever. Which I thought was very interesting. I said I would read it into the minutes when I sent out my message this morning, which should have been a couple of days ago, but at any rate, maybe I would just paraphrase. He said, homogenization of curriculums without any evidence-based study of successful programs is not improvement. Amalgamations of students into arbitrarily sized groupings, ignoring rudimentary geography or social affiliations, is not improvement. Eliminating schools that are and consistently have operated under the average cost and provided demonstrably superior results is not improvement. A factual basis for the determination that the proposed changes or educational improvements does not exist. Is there a demonstration project that indicates that any of this is pedagogically superior? Superior education by candlelight is better than an educational system uninformed by the fact that it's conceived by bean counters and politicians for economy's sake. He's a man of very large precision in his language and states his feelings quite effectively. At any rate, does anybody on the board have anything to offer on any of the topics? State redistricting, enrollment, I can't help on right now because I don't have data in front of me. And other. Well, I gave you the other, the other was going to be talking about getting a vote on the supervisory union's preference. So I look to the board, the rest of the board, got anything to say? Ask questions about? All right, silence is, I guess, the answer. All right, so, I
Ray, do you have
recommend
any
it.
questions? Does anybody have any questions about the building improvements?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Would you like, I was hoping Tim would show up, and he has.
Sorry, I
So
got here
would you
late.
like to give us a report on that, please?
So the project is coming to a close. There's just a couple of punch items still to be done. But I'm happy to report that the project went really well and did not have any really sizable revisions to the initial proposal, so that we're not going to end up really eating into that money we set aside for extras or unforeseen problems with the project. So I think that looks really good. We should be able to clean all of the accounts up for that. Hopefully by the mid-October range. So that is where we'll probably be able to know where everything stands. But there's no unforeseen things there, and it looks pretty good. They did a great job in redoing the hallways and the ceilings throughout the hallways. And
Point out what you mean by that, because they,
so this was a huge ventilation project. It was a revamping the whole ventilation system throughout the building. They put a huge unit on the top of the roof that is an air exchanger. It's about the size, about half the size of a truck size container. It's a pretty sizable unit. So it's controlling the airflow throughout the building, and ductwork was put throughout the entire building. And we hope that it's going to really have a great improvement in our overall air quality, but also a little bit of an improvement in our ability to keep the heat in the building as well, in that there's going to be moving the air around a little more efficiently. So that should hopefully help with that respect as well. But the group that did it, Naylor and Breen, the contractors who came in and did it, I think they did a great job. And so I was very pleased with their work. And again, I want to thank Centerline Architects for coming in and being willing to take on a project that they didn't start, but were willing to finish in light of our unusual situation in this respect. So I want to thank them publicly for that.
yeah, had a narrower idea there, but so in the hallways, they replaced all the ceiling panels.
They did. They
And
replaced all the
this is-
ceiling panels. It looks a lot cleaner. Yeah,
And it also reduces the noise from the system itself.
it does. It made a huge difference. Yes.
Right. And the other thing is that I happened to be there on one construction meeting. We went around and I pointed out that we needed a vent in the teacher's workroom, and they put that in. So
Yep.
there actually is a vent there finally, which has long been necessary. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this unit used for air exchange outside of the heating season?
It's used all year round. Yes.
So it
So-
is operating now, right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
And
yeah,
you sense that it's doing what?
It seems to be, making a difference, but we'll see. I think once we get into the colder weather, we might see more of a difference. And then, we haven't been in the extreme heat either, so that we
Right.
have seen, but it does do a little bit of heat recapture and a little bit of, and a little bit of moisture, or removing some of the moisture from the air as well. So there will be minor changes in that, or minor improvements in that respect. But I think in the wintertime, because we just use the old radiators, this will improve that heat moving around the building, because there's corners of the building or rooms where a corner of the room is really warm and the rest of the room is really cold. So hopefully this will help with those kinds of things as well.
okay. So the state came down, fire inspector and
Everything's gone
electrical and-
through lead inspection, fire
Yeah.
inspection, everything's gone through and we passed. And this is one of the first projects that they did where they even passed the lead inspection on the very first time. So we were.
Sorry, say that a little louder, please.
It's one of the first times they ever passed the lead inspection on the very first round. Because
Yep.
the way in which they do it now is so it's really counting parts per million at a really small scale.
Right. Okay, Yeah, I think it's remarkable that this got done. And I want to thank Tim, you and Terry and other staff members who participated in this, and as you say, Centerline and Naylor and Breen, because it's astounding that we got to this point and it actually got accomplished in one short summer.
I would agree with that. And I would also,
Great.
one final thing is just to thank all the staff for their flexibility, because it was
Yes.
a crazy summer and then a real push to get everything done before the start of the year. And
Right.
they all did a wonderful job.
I just wish they could, from the Church Street side, you don't even see the unit, right? And
Yes, you can't see it from the Church Street side at all.
on the School Street, it's kind of ugly, and I just wish, and we knew that, but I wonder if they could paint it or something, or
Possibly.
sky blue or black. I don't know what's the
I think
best.
it's probably something we could consider.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get used to it, of course, but
Yeah, I mean, in no time people won't notice it, but I didn't realize how much they were gonna raise it above the roof. So they had to, the platform that it sits on is about 2.5 feet above
right.
the level of the roof to sort of account for a really deep snow. And so that's why it's much higher than I had anticipated
Right.
when looking at the drawings.
That's a minor concern. I think what we've got there is state of the art air quality in a very old building, and it's fantastic. And it didn't cost us, the community, a whole lot of money. I mean,
No, it was primarily done through the grant system. So it's been really good in that
Yep,
respect.
it's going to cost us a good bit less than we set aside for it to cost us.
and if
In
we'd
terms of
another,
what we put in directly.
if we'd wait another 6 months, all that funding might have disappeared. So it was great to get it done.
No,
Right.
we've got it done right under the wire. I think everything has to be closed. The books have to be closed on all these projects, all of these air improvement projects around the country, in the end of October.
Wow,
So we got it done just under the wire.
fantastic.
Yep. I have one further question. Is this a neutral system, or is it positive pressure? I mean, I know in the winter, prior to the existence of this system, there's considerable pressure for cold air coming into the foyer there, the entryway. And I'm wondering, is this going to neutralize some of that exterior pressure?
Don't quote me on this. I believe that's what it's supposed to do, because in most spaces it has a vent coming in and then a vent going out. So it's pushing air into those spaces and pulling air out of those spaces. There's a couple of the smaller spaces where it's only pulling some air out. But
Yeah.
in most of the spaces, there's one
It's-
going
it's
in and one
balanced
going out
between
to, I think, neutralize the overall
inter-
pressure.
Yeah, okay.
To neutralize the overall pressure.
Well,
But again,
we'll have to see how
I
how
may
it
be
works
speaking
when it
beyond
gets
my
cold.
knowledge base on that.
Yep. I'd like to acknowledge that Kim Hall has appeared on the screen here, and we perhaps Kim would like to speak briefly, or I would point out that I read the note that you gave us at the trustees yesterday that has to deal with the education reform material, because I thought it was outstanding and forthright, which you are. You tend to be
Well,
correct. And say what you mean what you say. So if you
Well, thank
would,
you.
go ahead.
I sent you an email a few minutes ago, Ray, which was one idea for a letter to the banner. I didn't know if that was, first of all, I didn't send it
I
in
haven't seen
because
it yet. So,
yeah, it should have arrived recently in the last few minutes.
Kim Hall, it's the first one.
Let me just go
Okay.
to sent and I can just so it
Would
says
you like to
Vermont's
summarize the
education.
letter? So I don't have to. I'm
Sure.
just looking at it.
Or I can just quickly read some of it.
Okay,
Vermont's
thank you.
educational system is being wholly reorganized by committees. I think I'm correct in saying that there are just 3 committees doing most of that work.
Yeah.
And many would say that the committee's composition has already determined the outcome. Expect little of value. I mean, that's sort of my point of view at this point. The discussion is the discussion starting with Iceland, Germany, and Norway considered to have the world's best educational systems? Or is it starting with 10 countries with the highest average IQs? Or is it starting with an average salary in Vermont of 62,000 for teachers and versus New York's 92,000? Billed as educational reform, it is starting with one overriding central concern, our property tax burden.
Yep.
I go on to then say that homogenizations of curriculums without any evidence-based study of successful programs is not improvement, which is sort of the Caledonia point of view that you sent out. Amalgamations of students into groupings arbitrarily sized at 4,000 to 8,000 that ignore rudimentary geography or social affiliations is not improvement. Eliminating schools that are consistently and have operated consistently under the average cost and provided demonstrably better superior results is not improvement. A factual basis for the determination that the changes being considered are educational improvements does not exist. I think I'm correct in saying that as well. And then I go on to a rather extreme example, but superior education by candlelight and on slate is better than an educational system uninformed by fact, one that is conceived by bean counters and politicians for economy's sake. Just ask Abraham Lincoln. One's success in life has at its foundation an education, and that education is 1,000 times more valuable than a property tax bill. Nevertheless, property taxes are growing burdens to many. And then this is the paragraph where I don't know if I have the right answer, but I don't understand the relationship personally of property taxes to municipal funding at all. It sounds like it's a notion from the time of the landed gentry. So I suggest that the state would be better served by a broader tax, a tax on net worth and income, which would tax the wealthy appropriately. But anyway, that's an idea. Real reform should transform our collective intelligence, secure democracy, and facilitate a vibrant economy and enrich our lives, is the way I finish. I don't know if any of that is helpful to the cause, but those were my initial thoughts.
Yes. I think we can't go much further than that at the moment, but I appreciate the thoughts. And I have a great deal of sympathy with them. Because that's pretty much the way I see what's going on. And hopefully there will be something that approaches a reasonable compromise that can deal with the tax issues for people in a rational way and let educators actually do their work better.
Right. I have foreshortened my thoughts into a simple phrase that excellent schools should be emulated, not eliminated. I don't
All
know how
right, maybe that's
more
maybe that's our,
succinctly to say it.
yeah, maybe that's our crime. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ken.
I do think that we may have an interest in having the planning commission help us organize some responses, but at the moment it's I know that the Rural Schools Alliance has they've managed to get a lot of editorials and letters to the editor and letters to the redistricting committee out there, and clearly they're fighting for what they see as their small schools in smaller communities very hard, and I don't know if it'll be successful, but they certainly mobilized a lot of people. It happens from my perspective that because they need for the supervisory union structure in some form to exist in the areas at least where these small schools are prevalent, it helps our particular system of serving the educational needs of our students in part through independent schools. And so at the moment, our causes seem to be aligned. And it's been suggested by that group or the leader of that group to me that for independent schools that it's better to stay a little under the radar because there's an animus against us, and I guess she feels that animus is on this committee, in fact. So I haven't figured out what we can do exactly. Don't want to go yelling and screaming and announcing we're here to disrupt the whole operation. Because we're not, but we would like them to take our point of view in consideration, and the supervisory union could do that by saying that it sees that this is a useful organization and useful for us going forward. Anyway.
Well, it's certainly useful for the community. It's sort of the heart and soul of North Bennington, as it's been described to me. So whatever the planning commission can do to further the aims of maintaining our school, I certainly want to participate. If a petition would be valuable, if a letter to the editor would be valuable, if I wonder if the answer lies in the economics, since the generating force here is the property tax burden. And
Yeah.
without a resolution there, our voice is going to be very weak, I suspect.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone who can consult your Prudential committee on alternatives, economic alternatives to the present funding methodology? Something
Well-
that would shake them loose to examine some other idea?
That's an interesting question because the way this has been set up by the legislature, the funding system is not going to be revised until they've done all this other work, which makes no freaking sense.
If I may,
Yes,
so
this is Tim Payne. He's the new superintendent to the supervisory union.
Tim, it's nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you.
My observation, so I am attempting at this point to gather legislators from the area. That is past practice. I know that was, and it's come and gone a little bit as far as its frequency. But, it's not an open invitation, I must say that for the public, but we are, inviting them to come and see us October 6th. In this space, so board members, traditionally board members and administration has sat to give feedback, advocate for work. An observation in that this, and I've been a resident of this area for 30 years now. It makes me feel old saying that out loud. But once upon a time, we enjoyed having, senators and representatives who sat on educational committees. We don't have that at this point, with Senator Sears and Brian formerly of his positions. They would have, it was a little clearer as far as who you picked up the phone, and we have great representatives locally. They advocate for the community, but they're not currently sitting in spaces that are probably going to have an impact on the educational conversation. I still think it's valuable to sit down with them, absolutely empower them, give them messages that they can carry back to their colleagues.
Yeah.
But I made the observation before you joined us is that currently that map committee that everybody's paying attention to, they're drawing the maps to hand over to the legislature. There is no representative from Southern Vermont other than the senator who represents Wyndham, who I do have on my to-do list to make a phone call to, but so there's one representative. So we could spend our time in the fall building connections with representatives, advocating for them. I think we need to get around the central message. That's something that we can do at a superintendent's level, but also at the community level. Because the legislators will come back in January and have that bigger discussion. So if we spend our next couple of months kind of talking about what are our talking points, what can we all support? Again, I no disrespect to this group, but superintendent SVSU, there are many communities. I will not make the assumption what other communities have feelings about this.
Yeah.
I get stopped. I live in Pownell. I get stopped at the mailbox. My neighbor is almost 80. She has no holding back when she wants to talk about her tax cuts or her tax bill.
Yeah.
Or the Pownell Elementary sits on property that her family once farmed. So she has a very strong attachment to her local school as well. So she has no hesitation to give me feedback on both ends. So, and I listen politely because she's a lovely lady.
Yeah. Well, so is the legislative meeting will be just SU members or?
That is October
members?
6th. You and I have sat in those before, so
Yes.
usually that goes out to chairs, so board members who are
Yeah.
able to attend, legislators, and there'll probably be a select group of administrators from the central
Right.
office.
And that'll be in here.
That'll be
so there'll
here.
a space limitation.
Yep.
And then what time is that?
I have it from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
But again, I want to be clear that that's not warned as a public meeting.
Right.
And so it takes really what we're doing is just making the best we can, as many legislators available to us from their calendars. It takes a little bit of wrangling to get everybody in a space. So we won't have them all, but we'll have a good group of them.
Mhm. Well, so that's one avenue.
Yep. It's-
So working at our local representatives, and I shared earlier in the report, I am starting to meet consistently with my colleagues in the Southwest as far as, and there's 6 of us. 2 of us are brand new to the superintendency, but we have a couple of veterans. And that has been a good conversation, but we too are trying to get our heads wrapped around like a consistent message. And you know the area, you know that BRSU looks different than SVSU as far as what choice, what part of their, their opportunities are choice, what are public. So all of us have a little bit of different challenges in each one of our settings, but we are working together trying to come up with a consistent message.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
I think, I'm not sure where go from here at this point now, but, I know that I will attend these other meetings, and, I think maybe it would be useful to have conversations, and do some study of what's going on in that committee, because I have not watched one of those meetings yet. And, there are minutes, so I suppose there's even film video of them, right?
The Vermont School Board Association, which we are members of, and the Vermont Superintendents Association, same office, 2 different organizations, are providing their members with updates. So that would be available to chairs. And that has been helpful for me because I too am not tuning in and listening to a work group. There's so many hours in a day, so I find the synopsis to be helpful.
Yeah.
sure.
Tim, I had a question for you when you were asking about possibly finding someone to consult for us on possible different methodologies when we're talking about reducing the property tax burden. If you have heard of anything, or Ray, is there any other examples in any other states that utilize a different methodology? If that's, as you say, Kim, the reason why our voice is going to be not necessarily heard if the focus is the property tax burden. And I don't know if you had any information about other states, if there's any other examples we can look towards.
I can offer a question.
Well, what are we calling this formula that they have?
The foundation
Slated.
formula.
Yeah,
Foundation formula is used by most of the states, but it's wildly varying about how much they provide.
Yeah.
For as a foundation amount. Vermont has traditionally been providing pretty much full cost. Aside from parts of the bill that come from federal government, federal monies or Medicare monies. And that's not the norm everywhere. So, I don't think we are going to go away from paying the full cost of education in the public schools. That's the state's commitment, and, they will still be doing that, but now what will happen is that they are going to control what that amount is. They're going to create a formula. And this is not happening now, now they're doing this other work. Then they're going to get around to creating the formula for how costs are allocated to different students in different locations. And they will construct an amazing set of equations, I'm sure, to come up with the total amount and the distribution to different the new districts that will be formed, or supervisory unions or districts, whichever they are.
So
And
that's not going to be per capita, per student?
I can
It
speak.
will be per student, but yeah, go ahead. You want to?
So the 2 things. The question came, and I'm sorry I didn't catch who asked the question, but are people talking about finances. And Renee Gordon, who is the budget director here, is attending a conference, a 2-day conference in Lake Maury. And traditionally they invite the superintendent to go. So I plan to attend that with her. She seemed a little bit surprised, but mostly because I have no doubt, and she's very confident, they're going to talk. These are business managers. These are folks who run budget across the state are going to sit together, have opportunities to share. I think some of you have probably been paying attention that there are already districts in the middle of the state who are forming what are called BOCES.
Yeah.
So these are agreements that allow them to share costs on transportation, special education, payroll, things like that. And so there are some districts that are already getting ahead of that and trying to figure that out. I anticipate on the 23rd, 24th, I will sit in lots of meetings with much smarter people listening and learning about this. And as Ray said, the formula is practiced. I think it's 35 states in the union currently have some sort of formula. It varies by state. It has all kinds of weights in it. How many of your kids are poor? How many of your kids are need special education services? How many of them speak English as a second language? So and that's where you get a lot of the negotiation going back and forth as far as what you need. I think the appeal for the formula is that it allows the legislature to tame the bounce in taxes. You can anticipate, at least that's the selling point. You can anticipate how much it's going to bounce rather than what we do currently, which is we all independently pass a school budget. It goes to the state. By law, they have to raise that money. And that is unpredictable year to year, which I think is what frustrates folks who talk about taxes being so high.
Well, the increase is unpredictable, but I'm not
Yes.
sure they're going to have a better prediction.
That's true. But the selling point of the formula is that you can.
No, the selling point is not actually that.
Okay.
The selling point is that the state controls it,
I would agree with that.
as opposed to the local voting electorate.
I would not disagree.
That is the point, that's what they're trying to change.
Yeah.
Because they don't, we had two years ago now, we had a large increase. Well, you're coming out of COVID, you're losing some money from the feds. There are all sorts of things happening. So districts that typically don't want to spend money revolted against that. That's where the tax problem came in. The budgets failed. It didn't come in places like us where we are typically underspending. But we didn't have a problem with our budget because we're still underspending apparently. But yeah, so that problem is what produced this. And then the next year, this past year, we passed budgets handily.
Yep.
With increases that were more modest. I don't understand why 1 year of bad budget success leads to this whole system of massive change, and why that is supposed to work its way out to a better system. Like Kim says, Kim focuses on the right points there. What's it going to do for education? It's an unknown. We are jumping off a cliff. Or, I watched a skydiving video the other day. A woman with a guy who's trained attached to her, waiting to jump off a cliff, getting her courage up to take a step. Well, I think that's what the state's doing.
And I would agree with you. And I think that the anxiety is not helped by the fact that the way the legislation is structured, you have to do things in order. So you have to do the maps first. They have to agree to that. That will determine areas to tax. Then they're going to get to so there's all of these gates you have to pass through. And you have said it, Ray, in meetings that we said, any stumble and you don't make it through that gate, then what? And so, I mean, we kind of all.
And it's a pig in there is no certainty that any of this will work.
That's true.
Absolutely none. And yet you have people like Basbo, you're going to this conference with Renee. Those people asserting that, oh, we can't have supervisory meetings at all.
I'll sit in the audience. I'll come back and tell you what I heard.
Now, you can read a letter that says exactly what they're gonna say.
Okay.
So I'll send it to you. Okay, so I don't know, I think we've done this topic because I don't think we're gonna get much further, but but
We'll have more updates.
and I'm about to lose my voice. So. But indeed,
Well-
I think Kim has asked the right questions, and this really is a it could, you know, it could be successful. How well, we don't know, but it could be also a disaster. And
Well, I'll sign
So-
off. I'm on my vacation down here in Pennsylvania in Gettysburg. And
Okay.
so have a good evening, everyone.
all right, thanks, Kim. Thanks for joining us. I
You
appreciate
bet.
it.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right. I think we're all in agreement. Thank you very much for coming.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night.
Recording stopped.
Night, Tim.
Take care.